Welcome to the channel. I'll tell you a story about a scary mysterious creature that returns every 13 years. Make yourself comfortable. That creature, part giant dog, part strange man, stood upright, its shoulders broad, its silhouette powerful. Its eyes glowed yellow, like embers in a fire pit. But it didn't move like an animal, it moved like a man. Northern Michigan has always been a place where legends outlive people. Dark pine forests, swampy rivers, forgotten roads, all of it creates the feeling that time flows differently here. The local native tribes told stories of beings that lived in the woods, between worlds, creatures that walked on two legs, with the head of a wolf and the body of a man. They called them guardians, sometimes cursed souls. The white settlers scoffed, just tales, primitive fears. But decade after decade, people vanished. And always, someone heard the howls. That's how the legend of the Dogman was born. The man-beast, the shadow of the forest, returning every 13 years. Yes, northern Michigan in the 1960s felt endless. Dark spruces, swamps, icy rivers, it all gave the sense that time here ran differently. Towns, roads, even electricity seemed like a distant illusion once you stepped deep into the woods. The locals knew, in these forests, it's easy to lose your way. Even seasoned hunters carried compasses and marked trees as they went. At night, almost no one entered. Not because of bears, the old men said. It's just, unclean here. Northern Michigan is a land of forests where twilight rules even at midday. Trees stretch toward the sky, as if trying to shut it out with their branches. The swamps reek of rot and secrets. The Pine River slides quietly between its logjams, and it feels as though the water itself remembers the steps of those who went in and never returned. The tribes called these places the land between worlds. They believed creatures walked here, born of fear, of memory, and of darkness. One of them, the dog with human eyes and a body that could stand upright. A guardian or a curse, no one knew. But everyone knew one thing. Every 13 years, it comes out of the forest. By the late 1960s, the small town of Manistee, tucked away among pines and swamps, lived at its own steady pace. Everyone knew their neighbors by name, doors were often left unlocked, and the night sky was so dark it seemed the stars were falling right onto the roof of the nearby sawmill. But in the woods, just beyond the Pine River, there were rumors. The old folk spoke of a creature that sometimes revealed itself to hunters and loggers, a two-legged beast, taller than any man, with yellow eyes burning in the dark. They called it by different names, the dog shadow, the swamp beast, but most often, the Dogman. In 1967, Manistee was shaken by a series of strange events. First, farmers began to find strangled sheep, neatly stacked at the gates of their pens, as if someone wanted to show off the results of a hunt. Then a teenager, 16-year-old John Miller, claimed he saw a giant dog walking on two legs right along the roadside. No one believed him, they laughed, saying he'd just watched too many werewolf movies. But a week later, the road north of town was found torn up, deep scratches across the asphalt, like claw marks. Around the same time, the police station received several complaints about eerie howling echoing through the night. Sheriff Al Johnson, a practical man, dismissed the stories. A dog? A wolf? Just a stray coyote, he said. But when, in early November, loggers reported finding trees in the deep woods toppled, as if ripped out by the roots, he began to wonder if the coincidences were just a little too strange. Closer to Christmas, a man named Raymond Hart arrived in town, a reporter from Detroit. His paper was collecting scary stories from the backwoods, lightweight sensations for the Sunday edition. Young, ambitious, Hart was gathering material on rural fears for his column. He wanted to prove how country folk explained disappearances. Hart smiled at the idea. To him, it was a perfect feature, show how myths are born from fear. How ridiculous, he thought, that people were afraid of the night forest. I'll take a flashlight, a recorder, and see who's howling out there. Maybe that's my story, show how easily rumors trick people. Raymond checked into a cheap roadside motel and started asking questions around town. The more he listened, the more he felt there might be something real behind the legend. Farmers said, the creature moves faster than any dog. An old Indian from the reservation spoke of an ancient curse. Long ago, hunters had broken a pact with the forest spirits, and ever since, they were doomed to see the Dogman every cycle of 13 years. Raymond decided to investigate for himself. On the night of December 27th, he set off into the woods with a flashlight, a recorder, and his camera. The snow crunched beneath his boots, pines loomed above the trail like black sentinels. For an hour he walked without incident, until he heard it. Not a howl. Not a bark. Something in between, piercing, like a human scream twisted into an animal's roar. He clicked on the recorder. Second minute of the tape, faint footsteps in the snow. Fourth minute, a branch snapping. Fifth minute, a sudden, heavy thud against a tree. The flashlight beam caught a figure, over 7 feet tall, covered in dark fur, with an elongated snout, but standing upright like a man. Its eyes reflected the light, yellow, pupilless, burning through the darkness. Raymond didn't even have time to breathe. The creature let out a short, low growl, and the snow beneath its feet hissed, as if the ground itself could no longer hold its weight. The reporter bolted. The tape cut off with a scream. By morning, Raymond's car was found on a back road, doors open, belongings scattered. But of him, no trace. In his motel room, a suitcase remained, along with a notebook. On the last page, 3 words were scrawled: "It's real. It's watching. It's waiting." Since then, people in Manistee rarely speak of that winter. But the old residents sometimes, on quiet nights, still hear a howl rolling over the Pine River. And they say that in 1967, the Dogman stepped out of the forest, and never left. Every spring since then, flowers are left by the Pine River. No one says aloud why. No one admits they still hear the howls at night. More than 20 years had passed since that winter when journalist Raymond Hart disappeared. By the late 1980s, few even remembered his name, and the local stories seemed nothing more than a country ghost tale. But in the northern forests of Michigan, time flows differently, shadows linger longer, sounds grow quieter, and memory lives in the trees. In April 1987, a radio DJ from Traverse City, Steve Cook, released a playful song called The Legend. In it, he sang of a creature that appears every 13 years. Walking on 2 legs, howling like a wolf. At first it was just an April Fool's joke. But soon, dozens of callers began phoning the station, insisting, "We've seen it too. It's here, in our woods." For most, it was just a spooky story, a way to give people chills. But one call changed everything. A woman from Manistee, who called herself Mary, claimed that back in 1967 her husband had gone into the woods and never returned. All they found was his tape recorder, warped by frost. She swore that on the tape you could still hear the howls, and a voice that didn't belong to any human. That summer, a student from Chicago named Daniel Foster came to Manistee. He was writing his thesis on modern American folklore and had chosen the Dogman legend as his subject. At first, Daniel was skeptical, treating it like an academic case study, just another example of how local rumors evolve into mass legends. But the more he spoke with the old folks, the darker the puzzle became. "I heard his howl on Halloween night, 1974, said a forest ranger. "They found my grandfather without a head, only claw marks left," whispered a farmer. "He doesn't kill for food. He only takes those who go into the woods at night," added a young woman whose family had once lived near the Pine River. In August, Daniel set out for Old Crystal Lake. He brought only a camera and a cassette recorder, hoping to capture at least a sound for his research. The night was still, the moon reflected on the black water. At first he heard branches snapping, something large and heavy moving through the woods. Then came a low growl. He raised his flashlight and saw it on the opposite shore. The creature stood upright, shoulders broad, silhouette powerful. Its eyes glowed yellow, like embers in a fire. It was staring straight at him. Daniel tried to lift his camera, but his hands were shaking. At that moment, the air split with a howl long, inhuman, a sound that made his hair stand on end. The beast moved toward the water. One step, then another, it walked straight into the shallows, never breaking eye contact with Daniel. He dropped everything and ran for his car. Behind him, he could hear heavy paws pounding the ground. At the last second, he slammed the door shut and started the engine. The headlights caught its silhouette, massive, with a long snout and claws slashing at the air. But in the next instant, it was gone, as if it had melted into the night. Daniel returned to Chicago shattered, a broken man. He tried to show the cassette to his professors, but it contained only static, branches snapping, and a strange howl that froze the blood. His camera held nothing at all, the film was as if burned out. An accident? Hardly. Daniel dropped out of school. Later, neighbors said that at night he would sit by the window, waiting, for someone, or something. What happened to him, no one knew. Meanwhile, in Manistee, dead livestock began turning up again, and the old folks repeated the same words. "The Dogman is back. He comes every 13 years. And soon, it will be the year 2000. By the start of the new millennium, Manistee was no longer the backwoods town people remembered from the 1960s. The town now had new gas stations, a supermarket, even a couple of chain cafes. The younger crowd was hooked on internet chat rooms and their very first cell phones. But around it, the same forest stood, endless, silent, the kind even the bravest hunters hesitated to enter. And hunters still go missing there to this day. In 2001, a post appeared on a small online forum, written by a user called NorthPine67. He claimed that his father had vanished in the Manistee woods back in 1967, and he uploaded scans of an old notebook with the words, "It's real. It's waiting." At first, nobody took the post seriously. But soon, replies began pouring in from across Michigan. "I heard howling near Traverse City last year. On Highway 31, I saw a huge figure cross the road in a second." My trail cam caught something with glowing yellow eyes, standing on two legs. The posts multiplied. Some thought it was a viral prank. Others whispered that the old legend was alive again. That same year, 4 students from the University of Michigan decided to investigate. Regulars of online forums and fans of cryptozoology, they wanted to film their own documentary. Their names were Liz, a journalism student, certain she could dig up the truth. Mark, a techie who loved cameras and old tape recorders. Josh and Emily, a couple chasing thrills more than scientific facts. They drove to Manistee in the summer of 2002, loaded with digital cameras, microphones, and overflowing enthusiasm. The first night passed quietly. The second brought nothing but mosquitoes and exhaustion. But on the third night, when they set up cameras along the Pine River, something happened that none of them expected. It began with a sound. A howl, like a wolf's, but too long, too loud, as if it came not from one throat, but from many at once. The trees shuddered, though the air was perfectly still. Mark's camera picked up 2 yellow lights moving between the trees. Liz raised her flashlight and shouted, "Look." For a split second, the beam caught its form, massive shoulders, the head of a dog, arms ending in claws that hung nearly to its knees. It didn't move like an animal, it moved like a man. Josh bolted for the car. Emily screamed. Liz kept filming, her hands shaking as she tried not to lose the creature in her frame. And then, it was closer. Closer than before. As if distance meant nothing in those woods. One moment it was far away. The next, the yellow eyes were only a few yards from them. Mark snatched the tape and dragged Liz into the car. The engine sputtered, finally roaring to life on the third try. The headlights cut through the darkness, and in that light the creature appeared for a second. Its head brushed the tree branches, its claws flashed in the air, and its mouth stretched open, not in a growl, but in something that looked horribly like a grin. They drove off without looking back. Back at the university, the students reviewed their recordings. On the tape recorder there was nothing but distorted noise. On the camera, only a few seconds, 2 glowing eyes in the darkness. But the most terrifying part was that the footage ended earlier than they remembered. The final moments, when the creature stood so close, were simply gone, cut out, as if someone had erased them straight from the film's memory. Liz uploaded the fragment online. The video quickly went viral, but most people called it a fake. The students stopped talking about the expedition and refused all interviews. After all, it's hard to explain when you know what you saw, and nobody believes you. But then, on the forum, a message appeared, "I warned you. He always comes back. Every 13 years. By 2013, the world had changed. Every teenager carried a smartphone with a camera. Dozens of communities buzzed online, devoted to urban legends and cryptids. The tale of the Michigan Dogman, once a whisper in a small town, had become an internet meme. Most posts were obvious fakes. But some were too strange to dismiss. That spring, several disappearances were recorded in Manistee County. 2 teenagers never came home after a party by the lake. A hunter went missing, his rifle was found on the trail, snapped in half like a toy. The police explained it all as accidents, drowning, getting lost, misfortune in the woods. But on social media, photos began to spread, clawed footprints, too large for a dog and too long for a bear. Three friends from Grand Rapids, Sam, Kevin, and Sarah, decided to repeat the 2002 experiment, but this time with modern tech. Armed with drones, high-quality cameras, and streaming gear, they headed to Manistee in July. Their announcement, "We'll prove Dogman is a myth, or finally capture him on film." Thousands tuned into the live stream. The first 2 hours were uneventful: campfire talk, drones circling above the trees, nothing unusual. But close to midnight, the feed picked up a strange sound. A low drone, like a bass note, shaking the microphone. Then, a howl. Long, unbearable, a sound so piercing it made viewers' ears ring on the other side of the screen. And then it appeared. On the drone's camera, 2 burning spots between the trees. Then, a silhouette. Massive. Moving with inhuman speed. Sam screamed, "He's right here." His phone camera dropped into the grass, showing only the trembling glow of the fire. Sarah was shrieking, Kevin fumbling with the car keys. All of it streamed live. Thousands of people around the world watched as a silhouette filled the screen, towering, with a long snout and teeth flashing in the firelight. Maybe you remember watching that stream. Maybe you saw it too. Then the broadcast cut out. The next day, their car was found on a forest road. Doors wide open. Cameras scattered. The bodies were gone. But on one phone, a final video survived, distorted, broken fragments. On it, Sarah's voice, "He's staring right at us." Then came heavy breathing, and a sudden metallic screech. The video leaked online, but soon vanished from every platform. In the comments, people insisted, they deleted it on purpose. The old forum user kept reminding everyone, Dogman returns every 13 years. Sightings in 1967. Again in 1980. Then 2013. Remember this, the next time will be 2026. And no one survives an encounter. But in the winter of 2025, strange things began to happen. Moose were found mutilated in the forest, their bones crushed as if from the inside. Trail cameras captured silhouettes unlike any known animal. By January 2026, residents were reporting a nighttime howl rolling across the air as if it came from all 4 directions at once. A young reporter from Detroit, Anna Harris, was assigned to write an exposé about the old legend. Her editors wanted to show that Dogman was nothing but an internet-born myth. Anna arrived in Manistee with a laptop, a camera, and the latest drone. Locals handed her yellowed newspaper clippings and contacts of farmers and policemen. But the more she listened, the less she felt like laughing. Especially after an old man in a bar told her, "You city folks laugh. But in '67 a journalist disappeared, just like you." In 1980, they found people ripped in half. In 2000, students fled like madmen. In 2013, you all saw the live stream. And now it's your turn. Anna decided to spend the night by the Pine River, the place where Raymond Hart had once vanished. She launched her drone, switched on the thermal camera, and began her live stream report. At first, only darkness and the sound of water. Then the thermal scope picked up a figure, too tall for a man, too heavy for an animal. Anna switched on the spotlight. For a split second, eyes flashed, yellow, inhuman. The creature stepped onto the riverbank. Towering, wolf-headed, but moving like a man. Anna's hands trembled, but she kept filming. It's him. Dogman. He's real, her voice cracked. Dogman came closer. And Anna understood, he wasn't just a monster. His eyes glowed with awareness. Ancient, predatory, but intelligent. Then he made a sound, not a howl, not a bark, but something disturbingly close to a human word. No one could agree what it was. Suddenly, the camera fell into the snow. Viewers saw only a blurred shape, claws covering the lens, and Anna's final scream. The stream cut out. The recording was almost immediately deleted. But those who saved fragments claimed the microphone captured one last sound, a low, grating voice. Words. Understandable words. Since that night, silence has hung over Manistee. Officially, Anna went missing. Authorities blamed an accident. But the old-timers know better. They bar their shutters at night, refuse to enter the forest. Because they believe in 2026, Dogman will appear one last time. And if the legend still breathes, then he never left. He was only waiting. When the disappearances first began in Manistee, the authorities wrote them off as accidents. A hunter got lost in the woods. A journalist fell through the ice. Bears had grown aggressive. For city newspapers, these were nothing but backwoods ghost stories. But farmers and loggers whispered otherwise. Old men would say, "It's not wolf or bear. It's an ancient evil. It was here before us." Locals split into camps. Skeptics laughed, calling it a hoax spun into a legend. Scientists blamed psychology, the howls were coyotes, the fear, mass hysteria. But ordinary townsfolk remembered the disappearances. They swore, "I heard him myself. I saw the tracks. He's real." In the bars of Manistee, arguments flared. Some laughed. Others stood up abruptly and left, because for them, the subject was too personal. The police snapped, "There are no monsters. Stop wasting our time." Yet those living near the forest locked their barns with iron latches, forbade their children from going out at night. Students often came to Manistee as mystery hunters. But when they returned, they were changed, silent, sleepless, as if something had followed them back. And more, Manistee's people shut their doors tight at night. They mounted floodlights in their yards as if preparing for an invasion. Those who lived on the edge of the forest no longer laughed. Many abandoned their homes and moved to the cities. The elders all said the same, "Laugh all you want. But when you hear the howl, you won't be laughing." Northern Michigan breathed forest. By day, pine crowns blocked out the sky. By night, darkness was so thick you could stretch out a hand and feel its cold weight. Michigan. The land of rivers, lakes, and endless woods. But the deeper you gazed into those black crowns, the clearer it became, more than deer and bears lived there. The Pine River flowed through that world, murky as ancient memory. In spring it carried ice, grinding against the narrow banks. In autumn, it bore leaves red as blood, as though the earth itself remembered too much spilled here. The native tribes whispered of these lands as the crack between worlds. Their shamans warned, "Don't go there at night. There are no animals there. Only shadows. And among the shadows, one. A creature with the head of a dog and the body of a man. Tall, black, with eyes that reflected firelight and human terror. They called it many names, the Watcher, the Curse, the Beast. But most often, Dogman. And they said he appears once every 13 years. Each cycle announced by a howl, long, drawn out, like the earth itself groaning.